Shalom, shalom everybody. Ariel Tzadok here from the KosherTorah School, found online at www.KosherTorah.com. We are going to discuss tonight something that I call the countdown to Kippur. We are in the week now between Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur, in what we traditionally call in Hebrew the Aseret Yamei HaTeshuvah. It is during this time in our traditional Jewish observances that we contemplate our behaviors, we repent for our sins, we say to God, I'm sorry, and we try to be the best people we can be. We endeavor. Usually in the religious circles, people, they always want to put on their best garments so as to make sure they look nice for God. God's very impressed when you try to impress him. So during this time period, people are going around saying, I'm going to be extra good. Yes, I am. I'm going to observe all the commandments. I'm going to do all this, and God's going to look at me and say, wow, I'm impressed with you. You're going to get all your blessings. And this year, you're going to make your multi-million dollars, find your trophy spouse, become the most successful, the most powerful, the most healthy, blah, 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 right? Dramatic pause for you consider that, obviously. Please remember, God is not Santa Claus, okay? God is not looking at you to see who's been naughty and who's been nice, all right? God's not writing up the list of who's going to get presents. Unfortunately, many people come to this time period of Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur with almost a mythological concept of what Torah, religion, spirituality, and let's be blunt, reality is all about. And that mythology, what can I say? I'm going to be blunt. Borders on what we call in the Bible idolatry. That's right. The more people personify God and think that God can be manipulated, this is in essence the definition of idolatry. We often, because we follow a literal biblical understanding, wherein which we view God, and this actually comes from the old pagan idolatrous religions, we view God. Can you see this? This is a bug flying around here. I'm actually sitting here watching myself talking. I'm seeing the bug flying on the camera. What the heck? There's a UFO in my office. There's a spirit, and it's watching us. No. Getting back to what I was saying. Because of how we read the Bible, we think God is some kind of a little old man on a cloud sitting there, like we visualize from like Michelangelo on the Sistine Chapel. You better be good and follow my commandments, or I will smite thee with the wrath. Yeah, okay. Well, this is the problem. It's one of my pet peeves, and one of the biggest frustrations I have is when people come and read our Torah, our prophets, our writings, and they don't understand what they say, so they read them in a translation. And of course, as every scholar of Hebrew knows, a translation, as good as it is always an interpretation. And we intend, based upon old patterns, to repeat a lot of these old patterns. Christianity fell into this, if you will, trap when they adopted Jewish concepts and ideas of God, and a lot of the ideas that they eventually attached onto the historical Yeshu. I mean, even Christian scholars know, came from outside, not only outside of Judaism, outside of the church, came from pagan religions. The biggest, most famous example of this in Christendom, of course, is Christmas. All right, you go even onto the Catholic Church's website, and they'll tell you, according to history, Yeshu probably was never ever born December 25th, and they know the whole history of the Saturnalia, but we're not going to get there right now, okay? Yom Kippur okay, is a time like Rosh Hashanah, which is astrologically, astronomically influenced and interacts with us as human beings. So therefore, rather than apply this period of time in a context of, what should I call it, traditional structures of religion, I think we really need to understand this stuff in a deeper way. And that's really what I want to talk about right now. And I don't even want to use that word deeper, because that implies a value, a moral value, like there's lighter or deeper. I don't forget all that stuff. I want to get real with you. When, as you'll see in the notes here, I called this teaching you real Kabbalah. Well, that's what our KosherTorah School is all about. Unlike so many of my peers, I see they read the books of Kabbalah, they repeat it out, they memorize it. They are brilliantly informed. They can tell you what the books mean. There are scholars out there who'll tell you what the books say 10 times better than me. Guarantee it. Dramatic pause for me to tell you, but just like I remember learning from my Rabbi Meir Levi years and years ago, all right, when I was but a young man and actually had real dark hair here in the beard, my Rabbi Meir and I would study in a one-on-one way back in the day in Yerushalayim. And the first words he said to me, remember, I came out of Bethel, so I had studied Kitvei Ha'ari. I thought that I knew it well. And the first words he said to me was, my son, now that you've learned what the books say, I'm going to teach you what they mean. And the way he taught me how to understand the Kitvei Ha'ari and beyond was something that I know that unless you really have that inside track, you're never going to get. And I see it repeated over and over and over again in all the Kabbalah stuff. Let me date you. I'm talking about the early 1980s. That's when I was in Yerushalayim with Rabbi Meir Alav Shalom. And in my day, you could count the number of Kabbalah books that were for sale anywhere in Jerusalem, probably on the fingers of 2 or 3 hands. There weren't that many. Since then, Kabbalah has exploded into the public domain. And I'm not so sure that that's a good thing. Yeah, I remember, I'll share with you some little private stuff here. Remember, our KosherTorah School under our original name, Yeshivat B'nai Nevi'im, we started way back when in 1992, all right? Chicago from 1993. So we've been around for a wee bit of time. And in my early years, to establish my authenticity, of course, like other rabbis, I would translate material and quote the sources and the like. Well, guess what happened when I did that? You had a lot of unscrupulous individuals who went and tracked down those sources, sought to translate them into English, and unfortunately did horrible jobs of translation without any commentaries whatsoever, sell these books for exorbitant prices. I was in my local Barnes & Noble here in Knoxville, not too long ago, a few months back, I think it was before COVID, and they actually had a translation of volume 1 of 5 of Moshe Zachuto's Shoreshe Shamot, which is all the names, the angelic holy name dictionary. You could buy the original Hebrew for like $40 at any of the online Jewish bookstores today. But volume 1 of 5 in the English translation, my eyes nearly fell out of my head. $250. So all 5 would have been $1,250. The words ascribed to P.T. Barnum, remember, there's a sucker born every minute. You think because you have all these holy names and stuff, I can do magic. Let me tell you something, guys. I know about magic, all right? I've been there, I've done that, and I can tell you how this stuff works and what doesn't work. And if you go onto our YouTube channel, you see I'm even teaching a course now on Shabbat Chodeshim. I'm teaching you actually for real how to use this stuff. Matter of fact, here, you know what? I'm going to grab something off my wall, all right? This is something I recently gave a class on, from what for me was last week, on the name Atagibor Leolam Adonai. This is the holy name we call Agla. Then you got the names, the holy names that come out, the names of the 27 angels and the like. What that's all about, like I said, I did a lesson short. It's on YouTube. Probably should be, if you're on my Facebook page, you can scroll all the way down. It's probably there too. It's on my Patreon page for our supporters as well. The reason why I put the real deal out there is pretty much for the sake of what we call in Hebrew Havdalah. Havdalah, as we say, means hamavdil ben kodesh lahol, to separate between what's real and what's fake. Because you have so much fake stuff out there. Just like you have fake understandings of Torah, fake understandings of God, fake understandings of teshuvah, fake understandings of religion. When we look at social media today and we talk about, in quote, fake news, we've had fake Torah, haunting us, infecting us for the longest time. And that's actually the reason why, if you remember way back when we started our website, KosherTorah.com, 1997, if I'm not mistaken. So we've been around for a little while. And it's Lahavdil Kodesh Lahol. I originally started our organization to be an anti-cult, anti-missionary outreach program, simply because I was just individually, personally frustrated with all the, what I have to call the nonsense, the stuff that's out there. And I know some of persuasion, oh, Rabbi, you're being so judgmental because you're not being embracive or inclusive. Well, let me tell you what my response is to embraciveness and inclusiveness. Not only will I say no, I say, hell no! You darn ass right. No, I'm going to say it the way I want to. You're damn ass right. I am not inclusive and embracing or anything of the kind. Darn nor would I be. God forbid. We are being poisoned today to think that you have to accept everything. Everything is morally equivalent. Everything is all equal. Everything is all good. Can't we all just get along? Well, no, we can't. Let me give you an example. I love nature. Everybody knows that, knows I love nature. I remember years and years ago, I knew this Native American individual who literally could take a walk in the woods and was so well versed in the herbage and the plants of the forest. He could pick himself a salad. He knew what was healthy, what was good, all that stuff that many of us would have to take a course to study and learn. This guy grew up with it. It was his culture. Amazing stuff. Well, I learned from that. There's a lot of good stuff out there in the woods, right? Go pick stuff. So go ahead. Go out in the woods because everything in nature is beautiful. Go out and pick yourself some mushrooms. Doesn't matter what kind they are. They're growing from the earth, and the earth is love. So embrace your mushrooms. And you'll die a very horrible, painful death when you eat poisonous mushrooms because you are not smart enough to know the difference, Havdalah, between the good ones and the bad ones. Well, guess what? Here we are today. And look at what has happened. I've been watching this from decade to decade. Okay? And again, I got to say, hell no. Oh, no. I don't care if you like my language or not. Remember, it's KosherTorah School, my school. And I have this great policy with our school. My doors are open to everyone who wants to come and study with me. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your background is. I don't care how weird you are. I don't care what you do, how you do it, right? But just remember this. If you come here to learn, you're going to be taught. You're going to hear what I have to say. You're going to see what the sources say. You may not like it. You may not want it. You may walk away. Hey, that's your choice. It's a great, wonderful thing about doors. They invite people in and they let people out. Just a quick word. Our KosherTorah School began as an outreach program for everybody, kind of like everybody else. But over the years, I realized that's not what we're about. I'm here to teach you real experience. So you hear me yelling and screaming about what's real, what's good, how we have to make separations. Well, I'm not going to give you a list. I'm not going to say this is good and this is bad. Who the heck am I to tell you what to do? Oh, you're the rabbi. Yeah, Mazel Tov, I'm the rabbi. So what? All right? I'm here after 40 years of experience. And what I want to show you, you need to see with your own eyes. Before I began this class, I went onto Facebook and I found a clip from an old movie from the 1980s called They Live. I think it's a John Carpenter film starring the old wrestler Roddy Piper. I'm dating myself, Roddy Piper. It was great. But this is the days like Hulk Hogan, Andre the Giant. This is the olden days. The rabbinic, you should know, she's really big into the modern wrestling. What's her name? Becky Lynch and all these others. This is what she likes. She's a kid. Just remember, big guy, Hulk Hogan, all the tough guys. What she's doing with an old fart like me, God only knows. But anyway, getting back to the point here. They Live. I put the clip on my Facebook page, and obviously you can always put in They Live, find a clip from YouTube and the like. And this is a story, right? Obviously it's a fictional story, in which the entire world has been taken over by aliens. And the aliens are now in disguise of human beings, and they are the wealthy, the privileged, the elite, the snobs. And they put people down. And somebody developed a pair of glasses that you can see, what the things are. So you have a picture of Roddy Piper. He's walking down the street, and he goes to the magazine stand. Remember they had those? I think they still have them. And he looks at the magazine, and you see it says Life magazine, Time magazine, whatever. And then he puts the glasses on, and every page says, obey, follow instructions, submit. And everything is this subliminal hypnosis. That's such a cool film. Now, please remember, that is fiction. But I think it was Mark Twain who said, truth is stranger than fiction. You'd be surprised what the real world is like. If you were to ever do real aliyot and put aside all this new age BS, everything is beautiful. Everything is not beautiful. We're in a war. In case you haven't noticed, here in the United States of America at this time, and I'm speaking in September 2020, all right, we're in a heated political election campaign, and there's a war going on. Actually, in cities like Seattle, of course, Portland and New York City, I think it was just today, the Attorney General declared certain areas to be like anarchists, jurisdictions, like totally out of control. This never happened before in our history. This is just like, I'm going to give you an example, which I think is accurate. You know what a pimple, right? Remember the pimples? You get the little whiteheads and you go, and the pus comes out. Well, that's what these cities are. They're like the little pimples with the little whiteheads and little pus is coming out. That's what it is. And it's showing that this filth, garbage underneath the surface coming up. And that's exactly what these cities are. And remember, they got that way not by magic, not because of They Live or anything of the kind, but because of people's choices over many, many decades. This is the result, the conclusions of what happens when you do not make a Havdalah. When you go out into the woods and you say, I'm going to eat all the mushrooms because everything is good. And you're going to eat the bad ones with the good ones and wonder why you're getting a sick tummy and wondering why you die. Well, what you put in is what you get out. And that's a very, very important point, because look at our society today. And in my opinion, this has been the subtle poison of social media. We are today inundated with information, Information. Information. It's from The Prisoner, the old Patrick McGowan show, which in my opinion is still the best television show ever made in history. But I'm going to quote to you from that in a minute. Okay. Information. But information is not enlightenment. Information is not education. You're being told what to believe, but you're being denied the ability to think. I just mentioned to you my favorite television show of all time, Patrick McGowan's The Prisoner. If you've never seen the original 17-episode run, find them. They're online. I consider them, like I said, the best television program ever made. I'm not going to get into the details of the show. I'm not here to promote it, even though I do promote it. But I'm going to share with you one of the episodes. One of the episodes is called The General. And it was based upon what we would today call a speed learning technique, in which they could take an entire semester college course, all right, and project it through, waves, that would be, you would receive through your television. And in, I think it was like 30 seconds or so, you can have an entire college semester of information imprinted directly onto your brain. People say, wow, hey, that's cool. I love that. I can get a 4-year college degree, 120 credits in what? A day. Wow. Yeah, well, this was the trick. Because what that episode was showing you was, yes, the technique worked. And the information was definitely imprinted right on your brain. But the information that was imprinted on your brain was wrong. It wasn't accurate. They completely rewrote history and imprinted it directly into your mind, and you don't know the difference. It turns out that this was all being done by some great supercomputer. And the character, the prisoner, of course, was given the opportunity to stump the computer. And of course, as the episode goes, he did. How did he stump the computer? He actually destroyed it by asking the computer a simple 4-digit question. Boom, 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 boom. Put it into the computer and blew up the computer. And they said, what the heck did you do? What did you do that just destroyed the world's supercomputer? So that's a simple question. What question? WHY question mark. Why? Why? Do you know why? No, you don't. That is the subject of the meaning of life, which we all need to pursue. In our Torah tradition, our rabbis, God bless them, all right? Rabbinic Judaism. Remember, we don't observe biblical Judaism today. We observe rabbinic Judaism. And I'm a big fan of our rabbis, from the old ones to the modern ones. I'm going to tell you why. Because these guys, none of them, not one, ever said, thus saith the Lord, right? The Bible says very clearly, right, that the Torah is not in heaven, but we should say who's going to go up there and bring it down for us. No, it's among us, by us, with us. We decide what the Torah is because the Torah has to be made applicable to our everyday experiences in life. We have to know the right way, how to separate between right and wrong, good and evil, true and false. And we have that fluidity. So how do our sages teach us this? This is why they codified and edited together the Talmud, the Gemara. Because when you study the Talmud correctly, all right, you go from rigid Greek-based dialectic analysis into this free-flowing, imaginative experience of what we call agadata. Your mind is going from rigid to fluid in extremes, and it's causing the breakage of all the rigidity. And the Talmud itself says, don't look for the Talmud for an answer for halakha. The Gemara itself says, Masechet Nida, Ein lomdim halakha mipi Gemara. We're not looking to the Gemara for a final path, final answer. Show me what to do. Again, not only no, hell no. I'm not here to show you what to do. I'm not here to tell you what to think. That's not my job. My job is not to tell you anything. My job is to give you the skills and the experience so that you can do it for yourselves. That's what our KosherTorah School is about, unlike many others. So, my point here to you today is, like I said in the notes here, I want to give you real Kabbalah. Real Kabbalah isn't just using all the terms, and words of the Zohar and the like. Well, let's talk about Sefirot and Olamot and this and that. What are you going to do with it all? What are you going to do? It would be like learning about all of the herbs and other types of foods and plants that are out there in the woods. You read all the books, you see all the pictures, but you live in the middle of your concrete jungles and you just never go out and do it. What good is all you're learning? If you don't put it into practice, you never really get it. That's the point. Now, just remember, our topic tonight is Countdown to Kippur. Kippur is when we, in quote, try to get back and right with God. Well, getting back and right with God, in the Hebrew word teshuvah, means to return. Well, what are we returning to? Returning to God, returning to religion, and becoming all the more serious and ethnic. No, you're not. Let me state for the record, our Torah path has absolutely nothing, repeat that, nothing, third time, nothing, to do with Eastern European culture. A lot of our rabbinic leaders from the communities of the Ashkenazim obviously came from Eastern Europe. And they merged and blended together their Torah with their culture. And today the two have become indistinguishable for many, many people, where in which you think that in order to become Torah observant, you must be observant within a context of Eastern European ethnicity. Nope, not true. The Jews from other communities around the world, unfortunately, fell under that influence. And this became the identifying cultural force of what we today call Haredim. Now, from the essence of the, fearing of God and everything else, the Haredi way is the right way. Of course it is. All right? In that respect, I'm also Haredi. But I am not Eastern European culture. I'm an American. All right? For those of you who don't know, my Harley is in the garage, and I wear my jeans and my boots and my T-shirts, and that's just the way I am. I am not of Eastern European ethnicity. Someone's giving practical experience. How can we apply on a daily basis? All right? Oh, I'm going to get there. Don't you worry about it. Because in order for me to tell you how to be practical, I have to first define practicality. Remember I said to you earlier, Hamavdil ben kodesh lechol, separating between what's holy and not. Rule 1, don't think that in order to be holy, you have to embrace Eastern European ethnicity. No, you don't. You don't need to be wearing black. You don't need to be wearing fedora hats. Remember the fedora hats? Borsalinos, that's the brand, right? They were originally designed for the priests in Rome, and the rabbis wear them today. Of course I have a Borsalino. All right, I also have a Stetson. I like my Stetson more than I like my Borsalino. But I don't wear fedoras. That's not what I do. If and when I have to dress up and play rabbi, because that's what I call it, then that's what I do. Recently, I posted a picture, recent photo of myself from one of the interviews that I was doing for the television programs, and you see me in a nice suit with a tie, and oh my goodness, I got so many compliments. And I sat there and I laughed, and I turned to Ellie and I said, we got to do another picture to show people what I'm really like. People think that's the way. What do you think? You think I dress in a suit and tie? A friend of mine says that's your GQ, Gentleman's Quarterly look. James Bond. Someone said I look like Bruce Willis. I don't know all this stuff, but I mean, this is for television. You know, I go on television. When I first started, like with Ancient Aliens, I dressed normally. My rabbi said, hey, you're a rabbi. You're not representing yourself. You're representing Judaism on television. You go out and you put on the show. And I said, you know, you're right. You're absolutely right. Let me tell you something, all right? I'm going to get really personal here, all right? I hope I don't shock too many of you. When I go to sleep at night, guess what? I don't wear a black suit to bed. I wear pajamas. Oh my goodness. You mean like everybody else? Yeah. Okay? When I go to work in the backyard because I got stuff to do, I'm not wearing my kapata and my fedora. I'm actually like wearing work clothes. Really? Like everyone else? Yeah. And when I go to the gym, I wear my workout clothes. And when I go on television and I have to present myself as a rabbi, I wear my rabbi clothes. Oh, well, Rabbi, I'm so confused. Well, who's the real you? What do you look like? What the heck are you asking? Stupid question. You judge a person by how they dress? Really? Everybody dresses differently for every different need. How do you judge? Right? You have super, super, super wealthy people who go, I once went to, what was the name of that store? I think it was Nordstrom's, right? Oh my gosh, right? I feel like I have to brush the dust off my feet from going into a store like that. I saw like they had like sports jackets for like $5,000, and I'm looking at them. I'm looking at the stitching. I'm looking at the, what makes this worth $5,000? My mind is not computing this, all right? This to me is one of the fallacies and foolishnesses of modern times. The whole concept of style and fashion, in my not too humble opinion, is all modern day avodah zarah, idolatry. That's the way it is. That's the way I look at it. Now, if and when you go to a store and you buy a quality item, okay, I understand it costs money. Right? If I'm going to go and buy myself a good pair of boots, that pair of boots might run me $200. But I still have a pair of boots right here in my office that I bought 12 years ago. Just, cowboy boots, steel-toed, waterproof boots. And I've worn them day in and day out for a dozen years. And they'll last me for another dozen years. They were worth the $200 I paid for them. I don't know about anything stylish, but I look, for example, in the realm of cars, okay? Do you know you can go and get one of these fancy cars, a Ferrari, a Lamborghini, how about a Bugatti, $1 million vehicle? What on blazes are you spending for these vehicles? Here, again, I'm brain damaged, okay? Maybe. You know what I do with my vehicle? I go to the store, I do the shopping. The Rabbinit and I, we do our travels, we go around, we go together for classes and teaching and stuff like that. I need a vehicle that I can rely upon on the road, that is strong, reliable, gets good gas value, it's got stuff, right? Because when we go packing, I got my stuff, I can't fit it all into the Lamborghini or to the Ferrari, right? What the heck am I going to do with $1 million book? This to me is a zilzul. We call that a waste. I even call it a chilul Hashem. Because ultimately, this to me is all a bunch of garbage. I see all these fashion people say, look at this brand and that brand. You spend thousands of dollars for this and that. What a waste. This to me is what we call in Hebrew ga'ava. All right? Arrogant pride. People who will embrace themselves with accoutrements of dress or clothing and cars and locations where they live, and they develop this attitude of eruditism. I am better than you. That's how they think. That's how they think. They actually really think that. Now, there's nothing wrong with being wealthy. Oh, God forbid. Wealth is good. Abraham, Yitzhak, Yaakov, it's all good, right? And they have good stuff. But take a look at how real wealthy people live. They have a value for money, especially if they really had to earn it. And there's a big difference in that respect. So ultimately, if you will remember the wise words of George Orwell, Remember him, 1984? He wrote the book Animal Farm. If you never read Animal Farm or even saw the cartoon of it, you should. Remember, the attitude of most of these people represents that which we today call that leftist liberal philosophy, where we're all equal. Well, remember how George Orwell stated it. All animals, from his book, are all created equal, but some animals are more equal than others. That is your Satan today. Now, let's get real. Let's look at where we are today in our world, okay? We have been inundated, chipped away at, bit by bit by bit, removing God, religion, spirituality, and moral values from the public domain. And what we have introduced in its place has been godlessness, immorality, filth, and smut. And it's getting worse and worse and worse. The Zohar, right, years ago, centuries ago, warned us that before the end, we would sink into what was called the 50th level of uncleanliness. Well, guess what? The social media has now given us that opportunity. And we don't even see it coming. Just like in the movie They Live. And here we are today being fed all types of garbage, all the television programs, the movies, all the stuff is out there to promote how that which is wrong is really right, how that which is evil is really good, how that which is imbalanced is really balanced. Now, people today, the minds are upside down. They're at that what we call 49th level of uncleanliness. People are brainwashed today. They're mind numbed and the like. And because this is the case, this is why you see today all of the rebellion that's going on. Let me tell you something. Respect for authority is paramount. No one has the right to disrespect authority. Now, there's the authorities are coming after you to kill you. You know, obviously you defend yourself, but that's not what's going on. No, it's not. In the old days, all right, if a police officer stopped you, and there have always been bad cops. We all know that. And the cops themselves know it. And I had dear friends of mine who were police officers, and they'll be the first to tell you, yeah, you got bad apples out there. We have bad rabbis, bad doctors, bad lawyers, bad everything. All right? Well, we know that. But you don't condemn the whole on the parts. Okay? In the olden days, you had respect. Today, that respect is gone. And the wise words of our sages in Pirkei Avot ring true. Pray. Pray that people have a respect for authority, because without it, civilization will go into anarchy. That's exactly what's happening. The other day, I was speaking with a friend of mine from the West Coast, California. And the individual made a disparaging comment about the President of the United States. Notice I'm not mentioning names because it's not important. And I stopped the person in mid-sentence. I said, no. Our way is to show respect for the office of the individual. Is the individual in that office of high moral caliber? Are they telling the truth? Whatever, maybe not. But we speak of an individual in office with respect. We refer to Mr., or if you will, Madam President, or Mr. or Madam Prime Minister. We refer to people with respect. In our Western civilization, we have a concept of voting and the option to change our leadership. Fine, we use it, but we do it so in a diplomatic way. We do not disparage into insults and offensive behavior. In our Torah tradition, we believe that it's God who decides who the world political leaders are, whether it was Pharaoh in Egypt or Nebuchadnezzar or even Adolf Hitler or Joseph Stalin. Whatever reason, God allowed them to rise to power. Now, if I was in Germany in the 1930s, I would have referred to that evil dictator Hitler as Herr Hitler or the whatever, because you show respect, leave the country, whatever. That's something else. But you always show respect. It's obligatory upon us morally to show respect. And that will elevate things. But today we don't want to elevate. We want to destroy. That's the evil that we see here. Because our minds are so numb. You believe everything that you're told. I look now, for example, of the information with regards to the COVID-19 pandemic. I have seen professional, authoritative sources that state masks are obligatory and necessary. And then I see other equally authoritative say masks are irrelevant. I saw just this week statements from, I think it was the CDC, that said that the virus is airborne. But then again, no, it's not airborne. I hear this, I hear that, and it goes back and forth. You just don't know what to believe anymore. And I'm certainly not a doctor. I don't know anything about viruses that I can make an intelligent comment about these things. So, like every other layman, I have to think and use the best of my intelligence. And now, in the time that we have left, that's what I want to share with you. Because I'm going to share with you now the power of the Kabbalah. And I pray to use this to awaken you, to see, to give you the glasses from the movie They Live in our symbolic form. Because this is what you need to do, if you so choose. If you're happy with the way things are, and you want to be at the 49th or 50th level of uncleanliness, and you want to flip things, good for evil and right from wrong, hey, your business. Like I said, our doors of the school, our yeshiva, we're always open for you. You're always welcome to come. You want to study this kind of stuff? I don't care who you are. I don't care what you are. You're welcome. It's all there for you. Let me tell you something. As I've said before, and I'll say it again, I'm not giving you philosophy, theory. Oh, no. I am intentionally putting a loaded spiritual gun in your hands. And you're either going to learn to use it wisely or you're going to blow your spiritual brains out. I don't care. You'll learn through experience how to separate between the holy and the profane. I'm going to give you an example. First thing that we always visualize is visualizing God's name, Yud-Keh Vav-Keh. All right, there you go, Yud-Keh Vav-Keh. That's how God materialized his name from the Bible. That's the name that we always visualize for meditation. All right, step one, meditation. You want to separate good from bad? Put the name Yud-Keh Vav-Keh on it in your mind, project it onto it, and see what happens. I'll give you an example from experience. Years and years ago, my days in Chicago, I had a dear friend, secular Jewish individual, who wanted to learn meditation. I said, good. Taught him how to use the name Yud-Keh Vav-Keh. And he was not an Torah observant individual. And he tells me on every Friday night, he used to go out with a social occasion with all of his friends to his local fish restaurant, I believe it was, and he would eat his local lobster and shrimp and all this. And he called me up after a few weeks in anger, yelling at me, saying, Rabbi, what the heck did I do to him? I don't know, what did I do to you? And he goes, every time I go out now on Friday night, all right, I started visualizing this name Yud-Keh Vav-Keh, and now when I go to the restaurant, the name Yud-Keh Vav-Keh flashes in my head and saying, don't eat that, it's wrong. Don't eat that, it's not healthy for you. Don't eat that, it's not unkosher. And then I just felt that God was guiding me, that I had to go to shul. I ended up doing teshuvah, became, relatively religious. Stopped eating all that treif. I didn't tell him what to do. It's not my place. It's not my job. I don't tell you what to do. I'm not God's policeman. Please understand that. I'll let God speak for himself. So here we are, a time in which we need to get right. You need to understand what we're up against. We are at war. Now I'm going to share with you a big secret that my other rabbinic friends probably will not tell you. You know that big war of Gog and Magog that we've been talking about? Everybody thinks, oh, it's Russia and Turkey and this one and that one. They're all going to attack Israel. This is what happens when you don't understand prophecy. As it says, prophecy is a symbolic, metaphorical language. What Ezekiel saw was a war, but it's a psychic war. And we are in the middle of that psychic war of Gog and Magog right now. This is a war going on inside every one of us. It's a culture war. And every one of us has taken hits, and every one of us has taken casualties. We have been brainwashed to, again, accept positions which are unnatural, contradictory to our Torah, opposite the fundamentals of life and normal living. And we accept and embrace these things, and we try to rearrange and recreate the world in that image. Well, that's exactly what they tried to do in the days before the flood. Look how good it served them. You can't mess around with certain fundamental things, or there will be eruptions of rebellion. And that's what's going on right now. Yeah, the disruptions in Western civilization and culture. What do you think this is going to lead to? Freedom? It's not going to lead to freedom. It's going to lead to even a worse repression, a fascism which will take over, a fascism in the name of, in quote, liberalism. That's exactly what happened in Germany back in the 1930s. You know where that led to. So hear me. I'm going to now share with you very basic, very simple stuff. You begin with the name of God, Yud, K, Vav, K. Psalm 16, verse 8. I place the name of God before me always. One of the first classes of meditation I taught way back when in 1993. Here we are, teaching it to you again. You want to find the name Yud, K, Vav, K? You can find it online. You can get the Shivitis that I offer on our Kosher Torah website or anywhere else. It's not a business deal for me. This is about saving your lives. You learn to visualize the name. And if you can't, close your eyes and see God's name and think of God's presence. Or get one of these good old Shivitis and stick it on your wall. All right, you'll see behind me. I got them all over the place. That's what I do. Always be aware of the presence of God. Don't be afraid to be honest. Many of people I've dealt with and interacted with in counseling, all right, will confess to me. They're angry at God. They're frustrated because the things that they want in life they don't have. To which I respond, I say, well, who the heck ever told you that you're supposed to have all the things in life that you think you're supposed to have? Well, I read this book and that book, and this one says nothing is beyond my potential. Sorry, that is an idolatrous lie. You don't read that in the Torah. The Torah says we put God first. God is first, and we say, not my will, but your will be done. And when we put God first, we learn, recognize, and understand the parameters of what we need to be, where we need to be, and what we need to accomplish in our individual lives. Everyone has a purpose. Everyone has a destiny. And everyone's purpose and destiny is different from everyone else's. And what you need to find is your individual way, and not what others are telling you what your way is supposed to be. You need to go back to the fabric and the foundation of the basics, what the Bible, the Torah teaches. Now, it doesn't matter to me what religion you are, because I believe that if you turn back to God and you look back to the normal and natural way, you will be able to see, to know, and understand. You'll be able to sift out, or as we say, hamavdil ben kodesh lechol. You'll be able to sift out and separate out what is, if you will, right from wrong, holy from unholy, good from bad. Look at what's happening. Look at how people twist words today. If you've ever read Mein Kampf of Adolf Hitler, or the works of the Communist Manifesto of Karl Marx, or all these other really extremist types, and you look, what was their ultimate goal? What did they seek to accomplish? Well, Karl Marx, for example, he actually said, I'm sick and tired of waiting for the Messiah to come to bring a utopia, so let's create our own. Adolf Hitler also wanted to create his own, in quote, utopia. We all agree utopia, perfect society. That's all well and good. Great. We all support that idea. But look at what their definition of that, in quote, utopia was and the price that you had to pay for it. For Adolf Hitler, he said, yeah, let's have a utopia, the rule of the Übermann. And of course, we got to get rid of all the riffraff, which included all the gays and the gypsies and, of course, the Jews and the Slavs and the this one and the that one, right? Get rid of all the riffraff. Do you hear similar echoes today of people saying, yeah, let's get rid of this one, let's cancel this and get rid of that? We see this echoing today. You got to go back to the name of God. Now, if you really want to use the real power of Kabbalah, especially during this time, stop being mythological about it. Stop being phantasaical and get real. You have to go into personal struggle, personal prayer, and fight with God. Lord God, all right, you have to say, not my will, but your will be done. What is your way for me? Where am I supposed to go? What am I supposed to do? Find yourself. Find yourself. You will find when there's a will, there's a way. Indeed, you will find what it is that God's direction for you is. Now, if you were to call up your rabbi, Rabbi, tell me what God wants from me. Well, I could tell you what halakha says. I could say this is the proper way to observe the Sabbath. This is the proper way to keep kosher. But what does God want from you? Why are you asking me? Do you think I'm God? Go to God. Well, God doesn't answer me. God answers everybody. But you have to learn to speak the divine language. You have to learn to hear within. And like with Elijah the prophet, God responds with what's called a kol dimamadaka, a still, soft voice that's within your heart. But if your heart is clouded over with all of the confusing lies that are out there today, telling you what's wrong is right and what's evil is good and the like, then no wonder why you can't hear God speaking in your heart, because the voice is being stifled. You have to use the name of God in silent prayer to struggle and to fight and to cleanse and clean yourself. You have to clean the inside. This is what the 10 days of Teshuvah are all about. No, it's not about becoming more ethnically identifiable with religion. If you are Jewish and you are Torah observant, and there are areas in which you are slack in that observance and you want to improve your behavior, by all means, you should. Of course, no question with that. But what about everyone else? I'm honored that I've had the opportunity to be on the television programs with Prometheus, Ancient Aliens, and of course the Unexplained and the other programs coming up, which you'll see soon. And, it's all well and good. I'm honored that we have an audience here from people of all walks of life. Well, remember, God is not Jewish. God is not the possession of the Bible or Judaism. God is the life force, the real sentient consciousness, the source of all. It's universal. What I teach here at our KosherTorah School is, of course, Orthodox Judaism for my Orthodox Jewish students. But then I teach something else called Universal Torah, which is for everybody else. That's where we're talking about here. Remember, Rosh Hashanah is not the Jewish New Year, meaning an ethnic holiday. It's the influence of the Libra scales, the astrological influence of realignment. Now, that already happened with the new moon, coming down to the polarities of energies. Check out my Rosh Hashanah classes. I put up 4 of them through Facebook. They're all on YouTube as well. And we understand what we call the levels of manifestation of God in creation. We call those the Sefirot. I taught all about them in the Sefi Yetzirah course, which is available on YouTube, and then a gazillion other places. Go look up for more about the vibrations of these cosmic energies that we access through our experience. But here's the big deal. Real experience is not an academic, intellectual thing. It's an emotional thing. It comes from the heart. You'll notice the Bible always talks about the heart. Love the Lord with all your heart, and these words I command you upon your heart. When we wear tefillin, wear it opposite, on your arm, opposite the heart, and of course on the head. Always have to be in balance and harmony. The emotional body is the astral body. The angelic plane is the emotional plane. You got to get your hearts right. It's not that you learn to think the right thoughts, because everybody's going to tell you, think this, think that. No, you got to be able to feel it and know it for yourselves. So you focus on the name of God, YHWH. You don't need anything more involved, intricate, and detailed. This is the step. This is the practical, real Kabbalah. Abulafia taught this, okay? Chaim Vital, the great, master Kabbalist, taught this. Every great Kabbalist teaches this over and over and over again, the power of this one name, the 4 Hebrew letters. You try and see for yourself. I dare you. How's that? I dare you. These 10 days, they correspond to those 10 Sefirot. And on that 10th day, Yom Kippur, what we're supposed to do is rise up through the grades of consciousness to take a step into that, in quote, Yetziratic world, that emotional world. And you know what you do when you do that? Take a step out of the physical world. And that's why you don't eat, you don't drink, you don't wear fancy cosmetics, you don't wear fancy clothing. You be very simple before God. You say, okay, here's the time. Here's the way. This is what we got to do. And that's what Yom Kippur is all about. Now, if you look at all the prayers and everything else, you got 26 hours of prayers to drive everybody nuts. All right? I'm writing about that kind of stuff now. Get in our KosherTorah.com email list. You'll see the stuff I posted on again, Facebook, YouTube, and the like. You'll see what I've written about this over 25 so years we've been around. My point again is, focus on what's real for you. Get right with the name of Hashem. Get rid of all of this materialistic stuff which is leading to nihilism, destruction, and get to the essence. All animals are created equal, but some are more equal than others. That's the motto of our society today. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. You are no better or no worse than anyone else because of your external accoutrements. If you are better or worse than anyone else, it's because it's the nature of your character. It's the nature of the person who you are. It doesn't matter if you're a male, a female, Jew, or none. None of that matters. What matters is the nature of your character as a human being. That's the reflection of the name of God. Because when you reflect that name of God within you, then you have pristine character. And when you do, in this world topsy-turvy, they're going to come after you. They're going to, what kind of person are you, blah, blah, blah. Stand your ground. Stand in faith. Stand in truth. Separate between that which is holy to that which is unholy. Separate between that which is wrong from that which is right. Separate the good from the evil. Separate the stupid. All right? Get rid of that stuff. See all this nonsense that they poison you with in the social media, in the television, the movies, and all of these very bad messages. How subtle they are. Turn them off. Cleanse your mind. You want to do a diet? Lose weight? Physically? Do the same thing. Cleanse your mind. Cut out all that stuff. Clear yourself. Focus on the name YHWH. I'll put up a Shiviti. I'll expand in the notes section. I'll put something up here for everybody. And hey, you know something? You put it out, you print it out, you put it on your wall. I don't care if you do it 100 times, right? You know, that's what I'm here for. And if you think of anything that we're of any value, of any good, hey, you want to make a gift to the school, go to our PayPal page, and you can offer a gift. We're very thankful for it. So that's what it is. And somebody in text here is making mention about discovering your inner self. Well, you know what? God is in touch with your inner self right now. Always has been, always will be. You get reconnected with your true inner self, which is connected with God, and bingo, you made the connection. Or, in the language of Sefirot, here we are on the Malchut Nefesh level. Inner self is the Tiferet level. God's at the Keter. Keter, Tiferet, always connected. So you get up to the Tiferet. That's the heart again. Get back to the heart of things. Get back to God. Focus on what's real. Recognize that in that movie They Live and all that BS stuff, that's really out there in its own way. That's what Netflix is all about. That's what all this other garbage is all about. Sur mera, separate from evil. For osetov, and do what's right. Do good. That is the right way, God be willing, to prepare for Yom Kippur and life in general. If there's anything that I can be of service to you or to anyone else, that's what our KosherTorah School is all about. And I thank you for being here. Our doors are open to you. But remember, doors are what doors are. When you come in, this is what we have. So if you don't want it, you don't like it, like I said, we're not for everybody, and I admit it. But if we're right for you, you already know it. Welcome home. Come on in. Let's get to know each other. You know, I always tell people, let's get in touch. I like to be personal with all the friends and students and stuff like that. Somebody is mentioning here in context, how important is the angelic alphabet? I don't know. If you're writing a letter to the angels, then I guess you're going to write in their alphabet. We're not talking about angelic alphabet here. Let's go to magic courses for stuff like that. But all right, guys, that's it. As we say in Hebrew, Gamar Hatima Tova. May we all be blessed, as they say, with a good sealing in the book of life. Lovely metaphorical language saying, let's get it right. We're at war. Let's fight back and win. We can do this. Every single one. Don't ever underestimate yourself as an individual, what you're able to accomplish. Granted, you might not get the $1 billion or the trophy spouse or the Bugatti car, but maybe that's not what your destiny is anyway. Find what's right for you, and when you do, you will have everything. And on that note, my blessings. Let's make peace. Shalom. That's the most important thing of them all. Everybody, blessings, all good things. KosherTorah School is here for you. And I thank you, those of you who are supporters, for being here for me. See you all next time. God bless. Shalom.